In the spring of 1925, the city of Paris hummed with its usual vibrant energy. Cafes spilled onto sidewalks, artists painted along the Seine, and the sounds of daily commerce filled the air. Yet, beneath this surface of everyday life, a curious proposition was about to unfold, one that tested the very limits of human credulity and the enduring allure of a quick fortune. This was the moment when a man named Victor Lustig, a master of deception with a formidable reputation already preceding him in certain circles, conceived a scheme so audacious it would etch his name into the annals of criminal history. His target was not a bank vault filled with cash, nor a jewel-filled museum guarded by elaborate security systems, but an icon of engineering and national pride, the Eiffel Tower itself. The sheer scale of his ambition set this particular con apart from his previous, smaller-scale exploits, elevating it to a legend. Lustig, born on January 4th, 1890, in Hostinje, Bohemia, then part of the sprawling Austro-Hungarian Empire and now within the modern Czech Republic, was a man of considerable intellect and charm. From an early age, he displayed a keen understanding of human nature and an uncanny ability to manipulate perceptions. He was a polyglot, fluent in at least 5 languages, including English, French, German, and Czech, a skill that served him exceptionally well in his transient life of deception, allowing him to seamlessly blend into various social strata across continents. His early career as a con artist often involved swindling wealthy passengers on transatlantic ocean liners, those grand floating palaces connecting Europe and America. On these voyages, he would typically pose as a Broadway producer seeking investments for fictional theatrical productions, or as a financier with exclusive opportunities. These early ventures honed his ability to read people, to identify their underlying desires for wealth or status, and to exploit their trust with disarming ease and a cultivated air of sophistication. He understood that a convincing persona was as important as the lie itself. The inspiration for his most famous con struck Lustig while he was reading a newspaper in Paris. An article detailed the extensive maintenance costs of the Eiffel Tower, a structure that, despite its grandeur and status as a global symbol, required constant painting and repair. The article highlighted the considerable financial burden the monument placed on the city, noting that its sheer size and exposure to the elements demanded continuous upkeep. This seemingly innocuous piece of information ignited a spark in Lustig's mind, leading him to envision a scenario where the tower's very existence could be leveraged for profit. He saw not merely a monument, a feat of engineering, or a symbol of France, but a commodity, a massive quantity of steel and iron ripe for a fabricated sale. He recognized that the very public knowledge of its maintenance costs could lend credence to an otherwise unbelievable story. To execute his plan, Lustig meticulously crafted an elaborate identity. He procured official-looking stationery, complete with forged government letterheads that bore the insignia of the French Republic. He adopted the persona of the Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. This position, entirely fictitious, was chosen with cunning precision. It lent him an air of significant authority and implied access to sensitive government dealings, particularly concerning public infrastructure and communications. The choice of ministry was deliberate. It was plausible that such a department would oversee major civic projects, including the eventual fate of large public structures. He also acquired a set of business cards and an official-looking stamp to further solidify his fabricated identity. Every detail, from his tailored suits to his confident demeanor, was designed to project an image of undeniable officialdom and trustworthiness. With his new identity firmly established, Lustig began the next phase of his intricate plan. He sent out invitations, carefully worded to convey urgency and exclusivity, to a select group of 6 prominent Parisian scrap metal dealers. These invitations were framed as highly confidential, requesting their presence at a discreet meeting at a luxurious hotel, specifically the Hôtel de Crillon, one of Paris's most prestigious establishments. The secrecy was paramount, as Lustig understood that the perceived sensitivity of the matter would heighten its importance in the eyes of the recipients, and, crucially, prevent any immediate public scrutiny or questioning. He played on the human desire for an exclusive opportunity, a chance to be part of something hidden from the general public, which often implies greater potential for profit. At the appointed time, in a private suite at the Hotel de Crillon, Lustig delivered his carefully rehearsed presentation. He greeted the 6 dealers with a solemn and serious demeanor, emphasizing the gravity of the situation they were about to discuss. He informed them, with a feigned air of regret and official duty, that the Eiffel Tower, due to its exorbitant maintenance costs and increasingly perceived structural issues, was slated for demolition. He explained that the government intended to sell the tower for scrap metal, but that this decision was to be kept strictly confidential to avoid public outcry over dismantling such an iconic landmark. He painted a picture of a difficult political decision made necessary by fiscal realities and stressed the need for utmost discretion from all present. The dealers were told they were being given a unique clandestine opportunity to bid on the monumental undertaking of disassembling and purchasing the tower's vast quantities of metal. Lustig's performance was exceptionally convincing. He spoke with the measured gravitas of a high-ranking official burdened by difficult responsibilities, weaving a narrative of fiscal responsibility and unavoidable government decisions. He emphasized the immense logistical challenge of such a project, implying that only the most capable and discreet firms would be considered. He appealed to the dealers' sense of civic duty, subtly suggesting that their participation would aid the government in a sensitive matter, while simultaneously dangling the prospect of immense financial gain. The scrap metal market in post-World War I Europe was bustling, driven by industrial rebuilding and expansion. The sheer volume of steel and iron in the Eiffel Tower, estimated at over 10,000 tons, represented an unprecedented windfall for any company capable of acquiring and processing it. This combination of civic appeal and financial incentive made his story highly compelling. Among the invited dealers was a man named André Poisson. Unlike some of the other, more skeptical attendees who questioned the secrecy or the rationale, Poisson was relatively new to the Parisian business world and was eager to make a name for himself. He saw the potential sale of the Eiffel Tower not just as a business opportunity of a lifetime, but as a chance to elevate his status and prestige among his more established peers. He envisioned the glory and profit that would come from handling such a monumental contract. Lustig, with his keen understanding of human psychology and his ability to quickly assess individuals, quickly identified Poisson as his most promising mark. Poisson's ambition and desire for recognition made him particularly susceptible to Lustig's carefully constructed illusion of an exclusive, high-stakes deal. After the initial meeting, Lustig began to apply pressure to Poisson, subtly isolating him from the other dealers. He created a sense of urgency, implying that other dealers were more cooperative or had submitted more favorable initial bids, and that the deal might slip through Poisson's fingers if he hesitated. He spoke of the administrative complexities involved in such a large-scale government transaction and the need for a facilitation fee or a bribe to ensure the smooth processing of the sale. This was the critical moment, the pivot from a legitimate-seeming transaction to outright fraud. Lustig framed the bribe not as an illicit payment, but as a necessary, if unspoken, part of doing business with the government, a way to cut through bureaucratic red tape and guarantee Poisson's success. Poisson, desperate to secure the deal and prove his worth, agreed to pay the sum, convinced it was a small price for such an immense opportunity. He handed over approximately 70,000 French francs for the sale of the tower itself, a substantial sum equivalent to hundreds of thousands of dollars in modern currency, along with a significant bribe of around 20,000 francs to secure the exclusive rights and ensure his bid was selected. The total sum was considerable, a testament to Lustig's persuasive abilities and Poisson's ambition and naivete. Once the money was in hand, Lustig promptly vanished, leaving Poisson with a stack of worthless, forged documents and the dawning, horrifying realization of his profound embarrassment. The weight of his foolishness, the loss of his reputation, and the financial ruin he faced began to settle upon him. To Lustig's astonishment, André Poisson, out of sheer humiliation and the fear of public ridicule, did not report the scam to the police. The shame of being so thoroughly duped, especially in such a public-facing, if clandestine manner, kept him silent. He could not bear the thought of admitting to his peers and the authorities that he had fallen victim to such an elaborate and unbelievable fraud. This unexpected lack of official complaint emboldened Lustig, leading him to believe that the con could be repeated. He recognized that the human element of pride and embarrassment could be a powerful shield against detection. He decided to attempt to sell the Eiffel Tower a second time, believing he had found a perfect, repeatable formula. Lustig returned to Paris a few weeks later, confident in his method. He assembled another group of scrap metal dealers, replicating his original scheme with remarkable precision. He delivered the same story, employed the same false identity, and once again sought to secure a buyer for the demolition of the Eiffel Tower. However, this time one of the dealers grew suspicious. Perhaps a detail was slightly off in Lustig's practice performance, or his confidence had bordered on arrogance, making him less cautious. The dealer, whose name is not widely recorded, felt an unease about the entire proposition and decided to contact the police before committing any funds. The Parisian authorities, now alerted to the possibility of a large-scale fraud involving their most famous landmark, quickly began an investigation. Upon learning that the authorities were closing in, likely through his network of informants or simply by observing increased police presence, Lustig fled Paris. He managed to escape to the United States before he could be apprehended, leaving behind a bewildered city and a rapidly unraveling plot. The second attempt, though unsuccessful in its execution and nearly leading to his capture, underscored Lustig's audacious nature and his willingness to push the boundaries of his deceptions to their absolute limit. The Eiffel Tower remained firmly rooted in its place, a silent testament to the con artist's daring and the enduring power of human gullibility. Lustig's criminal exploits were not limited to the Eiffel Tower, nor were they confined to France. He gained notoriety for other ingenious cons across Europe and America, including the infamous Rumanian Box. This device, which he claimed could duplicate currency, was a simple wooden box, often elegantly crafted, with a few levers, slots, and an internal mechanism. Lustig would demonstrate its supposed capabilities by inserting a real banknote into one slot, and after a period of waiting, sometimes hours, sometimes overnight, he would ceremoniously produce a seemingly identical duplicate bill from another slot. In reality, the box contained a hidden compartment where a genuine bill was stored, which would then be released at the appropriate moment, while the original bill remained untouched, giving the illusion of perfect replication. He sold these Rumanian boxes to eager victims, including a Texas sheriff, for substantial sums, often ranging from $10,000 to $50,000, promising them a lifetime of effortless wealth and the ability to print their own money. The victims would only discover the deception after Lustig had long since disappeared, leaving them with an inert wooden box that produced nothing but their own folly and a significantly lighter wallet. His ability to sell such a transparently impossible device speaks volumes about his charisma, his masterful salesmanship, and his victims' fervent desire for easy riches, a desire that often blinds individuals to obvious red flags. The allure of instant wealth proved a powerful motivator for many. Perhaps one of Lustig's most fabled and certainly most audacious encounters was with the notorious gangster Al Capone in Chicago during the height of Prohibition. Lustig approached Capone with a proposition, asking for a substantial investment of $50,000. He promised to double the money in 2 months, claiming he had an exclusive high-yield investment opportunity. Capone, known for his ruthless pragmatism and his absolute intolerance for being cheated, was intrigued enough to agree, though likely with a healthy dose of skepticism and an implicit, unspoken threat of severe retribution should Lustig fail or attempt to swindle him. Dealing with Capone was a gamble that few would dare to take. Lustig, however, had no intention of doubling Capone's money through any legitimate means. Instead, he simply kept the $50,000 in a safe deposit box for the full 2 months, incurring no risk or making any actual investment. When the agreed-upon time elapsed, Lustig returned to Capone, presenting a somber face. He explained with a tone of sincere regret that the deal had unexpectedly fallen through due to unforeseen circumstances and complications beyond his control. He then, to Capone's utter astonishment, returned the entire $50,000 in cash. Capone, a man so accustomed to deceit, betrayal, and violence in his world, was reportedly impressed by Lustig's apparent honesty and integrity, qualities he rarely encountered. Capone, believing he had encountered a rare honest man in the treacherous criminal underworld, then gave Lustig a reward of $5,000, or in some accounts $1,000, for his integrity and forthrightness. Lustig had successfully conned one of the most dangerous men in America, not by taking his money directly, but by giving it back, playing on Capone's expectations and subverting them to his own advantage. He understood that Capone, in his world, valued honesty, however rare, and would reward it. It was a psychological masterpiece of manipulation, demonstrating Lustig's profound understanding of human behavior, even that of hardened criminals. He had used the very expectation of fraud to create an impression of unparalleled trustworthiness, and thus extracted a profit. Lustig's career as a master con artist eventually came to an end, not through an elaborate scheme, but through a more conventional criminal enterprise. In 1935, he was arrested for masterminding a large-scale counterfeiting operation that had produced over $2 million in fake currency, a staggering sum for the time. This was a more direct and less elaborate form of crime than his earlier cons, but it demonstrated his adaptability and his continued pursuit of illicit gain. The counterfeiting ring was extensive, impacting the American financial system with a significant influx of high-quality fake bills, particularly $100 notes, that were difficult to distinguish from genuine currency, causing considerable disruption and concern among federal authorities. After his arrest, Lustig, ever resourceful, managed to escape from federal detention, a testament to his cunning and determination, even when incarcerated. He spent several days on the run, eluding a nationwide manhunt, which only added to his legend. However, his freedom was short-lived. He was recaptured a few weeks later in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Subsequently, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison for counterfeiting, with an additional 5 years added for his daring escape. His final destination was the infamous federal prison on Alcatraz Island, a stark and desolate fortress in San Francisco Bay, a dramatic contrast to the luxurious hotels and transatlantic ocean liners that had characterized his earlier life of freedom and deception. Victor Lustig died on March 11, 1947, at the age of 57, in the Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri, from complications of pneumonia while still incarcerated at Alcatraz. His life, a tapestry of elaborate deceptions, bold escapes, and astonishing psychological manipulations, concluded far from the spotlight he often sought and commanded. Yet, the story of the man who sold the Eiffel Tower, not once but twice, endures as a captivating tale of human ingenuity applied to the art of the con, a testament to the enduring power of illusion and the often unseen vulnerabilities within human ambition and desire.